welcome back to a bonus episode. This one is going to include all of our pictures we took on our trip out west. Many of them are going to be non-Railfan related. We'll start off here in Kansas City, grab a virtual Railfan screenshot of the truck there. The rest of these are pictures we took. This was one of a train coming out of Argentine Yard. This is a Western Auto building in Kansas City. I thought it was pretty cool. First funny sign, if you see towards the bottom, livestock not allowed outside vehicles in Missouri rest areas. Then we hit St. Joseph, Missouri for the Pony Express Museum. This is the original Pony Express stables. And there's a little park right across the street from there, and they've got an old Burlington route steam locomotive sitting over there. Also in town is the Jesse James home where he was shot and killed. This was not the original location of the house, but they had it moved here to the town. Stayed that night in Council Bluffs, had a nice dinner at the Quaker Steak and Lube, and then woke up the next morning and visited the UP Museum, which was closed for the day, but we got a couple pictures outside and toured around the city a bit. Then ventured over to Omaha, used the drone to get some nice pictures of this UP diesel locomotive and steam locomotive that are on display right off the interstate as you come into Omaha. And after we left there, traveled up a street, saw our second funny sign of the trip. This seriously reminded us of our cat, one of our cats here at the house. So thought we'd take that. We then moved up to Sioux City, Iowa, where there was a pretty bad plane crash in 1989 that I remember as a kid watching the footage of on TV. They've got a memorial there for the victims as well as a monument to some of the rescue. We then ventured over to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They've got a Prairie Farms there with one of the cow statues. And then we went to Sioux Falls State Park. The water level was pretty far down, but get a pretty good idea of what the falls or part of the falls look like. Some very historic buildings that they're working on saving. And then we went down into the city of Sioux Falls, stopped at the BNSF depot. Got a picture of this snow thrower as well as the locomotive that's hooked up to it. And then a pretty good picture of the old depot that was there in town. And then that night we stayed out in Mitchell, South Dakota and ate dinner at a restaurant called The Depot. Got to watch a couple trains go by us. Was pretty cool. A little bit of the history there and a little throw-in for them. And then the next few pictures are from the outside of the building. That's how close you are to the trains. And then on one end of the building they still have the Mitchell sign. And then the front has all been renovated and has their logos and signs. Pretty cool place. Next morning we got up and ventured further west on I-90. Came across the Dignity Monument statue here, right by the Missouri River. And it's on a nice big overlook off the interstate, so we stopped and saw that. Then ventured a little further to 1880s town, and they had this old South Dakota Central locomotive and some old train cars there that you used to be able to eat in. We then stopped by Minuteman Missile National Historic Site, but again, like many things, was closed on this day. So we then ventured up to the Badlands exit. There's a giant prairie dog statue right off the exit. And then entered the first of the national parks. We went to see the Badlands. Can tell you that really didn't have any idea what exactly to expect, but the Badlands were just absolutely amazing. Some of the pictures here, there is no way that photography can do justice to some of the sights you see and how far off into the horizon you can see. Got another interesting sign here, maybe not funny because nobody wants to be near a rattlesnake. But again, some of these pictures just absolutely breathtaking scenes that you come across as you make your way through the Badlands. This was the first panoramic photo I've tried to take with the new iPhone. I think it came out pretty good, and then we ran into a pack of bighorn rams that were grazing on the side of the road. This was our first close encounter with any wildlife. The wife and I were both really hoping that we would get to see some interesting wildlife while we were out there, so Saw these up on the side of the road and then noticed traffic pretty rapidly slowing down in front of us, and realized that while these guys were up here grazing, a couple of his buddies were making their way across the street. And traffic was veering around. And so I got a few photos of this guy. Once he realized that my bighorn ram was trying to get past him, he wasn't really excited. He eventually starts walking towards us. We have a bit of a stare off. I honestly, for a second, was a little concerned he was going to ram the truck. But then he finally decided to just venture on over to the other side of the road with his friends. So, kind of interesting, kind of funny. You'll see him at one point here. He rears up one of his legs. And that's when I began to get a little bit concerned that maybe we were going to go home with a little bit more than we bargained for. But again, he stayed pretty calm and made it clear that this was his road. He didn't necessarily appreciate us being on it. So again, maybe took a few too many pictures of him here, but thought it was pretty funny as he had kind of a little stare down battle with us and started walking closer. As soon as we get past him, the next little overlook, we see a bison way off in the distance. Actually, a couple of them there. And we'd hoped that we would see some. And we hoped we would be able to get close up to them. But from this angle, it certainly didn't look like we were going to see any really close. We did turn down a gravel road and began seeing some prairie dogs off on the side. And these little suckers, they sit real still and stand up till you get up close to them, and then they start to run. So it was hard to get a good picture. Then came around a corner, and there was a friendly bison just standing right there on the side of the road. And so we knocked that off the list of getting to see one really nice and up close. It was pretty cool. He just kind of stood there. Looked like maybe scratching along that post or something. And then he finally let us take all the pictures we wanted. We moved on down the road. Got a little bit better picture of a prairie dog here. Almost caught him standing up, but he started to flex down just as we pulled up on him. And then I looked in the mirror, and our friendly bison had decided that he was done on that side of the road and was crossed over the road behind us and walked up through the field. We're then going to get to see some more prairie dogs. Finally got one sticking up out of its hole, and then finally was able to sneak up on one fully extended, standing up like they do, and grab a picture before he noticed us and ducked down and ran away. We then moved to Wall, South Dakota, and drove by Wall Drugs, but it was madness, all the vehicles there, so we just drove around town. Thought the post office was kind of cool. And then it was on to the highlight of the day for us, or at least what we thought would be the highlight was Mount Rushmore. I'll honestly tell you that the Badlands were a lot more exciting than Mount Rushmore. Still amazing to see this too, but the Badlands were just unbelievable. Definitely tried out some different photo filters within the iPhone. Just try to get some different color hues. And then wound up kind of taking a close-up image of each of the 4 presidents' heads. Really cool. Amazing to see. Certainly glad we made this trip with that planned as the highlight, because that drove us in the direction where we were able to see so many other cool things. So we'll get one final picture here and then move on. Next up for us, the next morning, we stopped at the South Dakota Air Force and Space Museum. A lot of cool planes outside. Took pictures of several of those and got a kind of a panoramic shot of the entire place. And then we're going to move on up towards Sturgis, and we come across a state park called Big Butte State Park. So we got a couple pictures of that. I thought that was a pretty neat place to see. Wound up going in the little visitor's shop at the state park. Next funny sign was the brake check area. Unfortunately, there wasn't much traffic. Nobody was tailgating me, so we did not brake check anybody. We then stopped in Belle Fourche, which is the geographic center of the United States with Alaska and Hawaii added in. Saw one of their local railroad locomotives, and it was on into Wyoming, where we saw Devil's Tower. So I got several pretty good images of Devil's Tower. Here you're going to see there were some climbers free climbing their way up the side. So that was pretty interesting to watch their progress. This is as we drive away a bit, see a little bit more. And then we're going to hit the town of Lusk, Wyoming. And there they had an old historic sign for a redwood water tank that had been built by the railroad. And then the next morning we wind up in Scotts Bluff at Scotts Bluff National Historic Site. From there you can see Chimney Rock. That's about 30 miles off into the distance. And this is some more of that Scotts Bluff site. There's a nice long drive up to the top of it, where you can see down into the For those of you that remember the 1980s video game Oregon Trail, you'll remember Chimney Rock was a highlight of that game, and here it is in real life. So that was also pretty cool to see. Next and last funny sign we got was at a gas station. It was happy to see people, but evidently been seeing a bit much of them recently. And then we moved on into North Platte, where we saw the Union Pacific Golden Spike rail car there. This is the Golden Spike Tower. I got some pretty cool pictures from up in the tower. This is looking at the locomotive shop there at Bailey Yard. This is kind of a shot of part of the hump yard. Bailey is the largest rail yard in, they say, the world. I believe there is one larger over in Europe. They have some pretty cool displays up on the 8th floor of the observation deck. On the 7th floor, you can go outside. And then also there in North Platte, we stopped and visited the Buffalo Bill Cody home and Scout's Rest, which was his ranch, and took in those sights. And that was kind of the last pictures we took. Hope you enjoy this look back at our trip. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click on the thumbs up below to give us a like. Also, please click on the Rusty Boxcar logo on the right side of the screen to get a subscription to the channel. And send us a comment. Really enjoy reading all your comments, and I try to respond to each one of them. Thanks, and have a nice day.